What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show. We discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got some major stuff going on here right now. Just as Congress has passed the $1.7 trillion government funding bill right before Christmas. Remember, that had to be passed by both Republicans and Democrats to pass here. There was a lot of negotiating and back and forth here before this, and Republicans, especially, were very split on whether or not to pass that or not. And also, almost $45 billion went to Ukraine in that to help them fend off Russia and the Russian attack and Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine here on that as well. And remember that Russia's been pushed back here, especially here the last few months, and has really kind of been losing the war. They've lost the major city Kherson. Russia has officially announced that. There's footage of them leaving there, and they've lost a lot of territory here recently. And I'll show you what Russia has just said here. They've given Ukraine an ultimatum, they're calling it, which is interesting. You guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. And this comes right after the United States, Republicans and Democrats have agreed to $45 billion more in funding to help Ukraine rid Russia from Ukraine. So let me know your thoughts on this. Yeah, so you can see here Russia's Foreign Minister Lavrov issues an ultimatum to Ukraine. The ultimatum comes a day after President Vladimir Putin says Moscow was open to talks. Basically, Russia's talks are Ukraine surrender and give us your land. But here's what Lavrov says. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov issued an ultimatum to Ukraine to fulfill Moscow's proposals or have the Russian army decide the issue, saying, quote, our proposals for the demilitarization and denazification of the territories controlled by the regime, this is a quote, the elimination of threats to Russia's security emanating from there, including our new lands that they've basically kind of claimed from Ukraine, are well known to the enemy, said the state news agency, quoted Mr. Lavrov saying here. Quote, the point is simple, fulfill them for your own good. Otherwise, the issue will be decided by the Russian army. This ultimatum from Russia came a day after Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Moscow was open to talks. Now gives them an ultimatum, saying, quote, we are ready to negotiate with everyone involved about acceptable solutions. Acceptable to Russia, right? But that is up to them. We are not the ones refusing to negotiate. They are, the Russian president said on their state television. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which is now in its 11th month, almost a year, has triggered the most deadly conflict in Europe since World War II. It is also the biggest confrontation between Moscow and the West since 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. On Monday, a drone believed to be Ukrainian penetrated hundreds of kilometers through Russian airspace and caused a deadly explosion at the main base for its strategic bombers inside Russia. Also on Monday, Ukraine's military command said Russian forces carried out 19 attacks over the past day. President Zelensky of Ukraine called the situation among the front line in Donbass difficult and painful. He also said that as a result of Russian targeting energy infrastructure in Ukraine, 9 million people were without power. That's like 25% of the entire country. Now, here's the thing about Russia and this whole situation. Number one is Russia basically wants to take over almost 20% of Ukraine as part of this negotiating process. Ukraine doesn't want to give up 20% of their country. Russia also wants demilitarization of the entire country as part of their negotiation talks. So basically, they want Ukraine to just surrender all of their weapons and be completely defenseless so that Russia can do what they will at any point in the future. Does that sound like negotiation to you? Would you do that if you were Ukraine? Also, remember that Ukraine is now winning the war at this point. They've pushed them back thousands of kilometers. Um, Even Russia has basically said to the world that they've retreated back from multiple of these cities. There's footage of this all around the world of them retreating back from all these cities. Um, I mean, you guys can let me know your thoughts on this, but they want to claim these territories that they don't even control right now. 99% of the world ish. You guys can look at the United Nations elections when they, or United Nations votes when they did this. United Nations, the whole world voted on this, and there was only a few countries that actually voted with Russia. It was like Russia and Serbia and North Korea that actually voted with Russia to say that those elections were real elections. Remember that the Russian army basically went door to door via gunpoint and asked the Ukrainians how they wanted to vote. And then Russia went back and counted the votes themselves and said, oh, yeah, 99% of people voted for Russia. I mean, come on. You guys let me know your thoughts here on that whole voting process. Nobody's seen the votes counted, and Russia had, basically said via gunpoint, "How do you want to vote?" And then took the votes back to Russia and counted the votes and told us the results. I mean, you guys let me know your thoughts on that. I mean, that's not the craziest thing ever. I mean, you guys let me know your thoughts on that. I mean, that would be like, we hold a presidential election, and I'm a presidential candidate, and I'll go count the votes for myself and tell you guys the results. It's just, and that's the one part of it. Not even counting the gun. You're held at gunpoint. There's two armed guards at the door, and they're going to ask you how you want to vote inside Russia. So I don't know, you guys let me know your thoughts here on this. Yeah. You can also see here from Reuters only Russia's nuclear arms preventing the West from declaring war. This is coming directly from Putin's ally, and this is really kind of true. If Russia didn't have nukes, this would all be over. And this is what everybody's scared of. This is Russia has 6,000 nuclear weapons. And Russia's having a very hard time just with Ukraine. Imagine if NATO stepped in, 30 other countries, Russia wouldn't be able to fend them off, but they have nukes. They have nukes. So this is why it's such a delicate situation in that nobody wants to step in because nobody wants a nuclear war. Yeah, the United States has nukes. Yeah, other countries have nukes. Yeah, China has nukes. Nobody wants a nuclear exchange. We don't want a single nuclear weapon to go off. If a single nuclear weapon went off, even if it's Russia shooting it to Ukraine, first of all, it would be absolutely catastrophic. It would be terrible for Ukraine. It would be terrible for the world. It would be terrible for those people. It was terrible when we had World War II nukes go off. Now, some people would say that it prevented a long, long invasion of Japan and prevented more deaths. You guys can let me know your thoughts on that. But it prevented a much longer war and actually prevented maybe more deaths. I mean, you can let me know your thoughts on that. Um, but the problem here is that we don't want to have nuclear. If one gets shot, does another one get shot back? Do we don't want to have that happen at all. We really just want to have this end. But it doesn't look like Ukraine's just going to give up their territory. And surely it doesn't look like they're going to give up their territory when they're winning and pushing back Russia farther and farther and farther back towards Russia. So you guys can let me know your thoughts on this. Next up, New York Republican House of Representative elect, who was just elected, George Santos, admits he lied over his whole resume, his whole history and career. He fabricated that he went to college and his whole work details and calls for him to resign after him basically lying about his whole resume and his whole background. Really kind of call into question about what can and can't be done. Can you straight up lie to the public, particularly about your background? And he's admitted it here. Representative-elect George Santos, Republican from New York, has admitted to fabricated details about his education and previous employment as he campaigned for Congress during this year's midterms, falsely claiming he'd earned a college degree and misrepresenting his past work. His comments in an interview with the New York Post, published here on Monday, follow a report from the New York Times that highlighted discrepancies in his story, including his claims that he worked for Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, and that he graduated from New York's Baruch College. Again, he could have just probably told the truth and still been elected. But when you start lying like this, you got to wonder what else they're lying about. And it shows your integrity and the whole system. Again, you probably could have got elected without lying like this, but it shows you the person's integrity. Santos told the Post that he never worked directly with either of them, which means he didn't work there at all, and said he'll be, quote, clearer about that in the future. He also said that he did not graduate from that school, nor any institution of higher learning, despite his past claims. He said, quote, "My sins here are embellishing my resume. I'm sorry," the incoming GOP lawmaker told the outlet. He insisted to the Post that the controversy won't keep him from good legislative success, though, when he takes a seat in the new Congress coming in January. Breaking his silence on the accusation, he also gave an interview to a local radio station where he maintained that a lot of people overstate in their resumes or twist a little bit, and they also get fired when the company finds out that they lied on their resume. Right? He says, quote, "I'm not saying I'm not guilty of that. I'm just saying I've done so much good in my career." He says, quote, "I'm not a criminal who defrauded the entire country." But he did defraud the entire country. I mean, this guy's just literally talking himself into a deeper hole. He flipped an entire seat for Long Island and Queens. Incoming House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries said last week that he appears to be a complete and utter fraud. His whole life story is made up. Santos's attorney last week had called the Times report about him a shotgun blast of attacks and claimed coverage of him was aimed at trying to smear his good name. But then now he's admitted that he lied about all this stuff. He says, quote, "I'm embarrassed and sorry for having embellished my resume." He said in an interview with the Post, "I own up to that. We do stupid things in life." But the problem here now is that now he's elected, and uh, that's a big problem now because now you're going to tell the truth right after the results have come out. Um, yeah, so that's kind of an issue here, and we've seen a little bit of that stuff with the Herschel Walker stuff. We're like, oh, I'm against abortion. Oh, but you had an abortion and you paid for abortion, and it's just like and it's the problem with politics is that people say one thing and they do another, and it's just like, well, people want to know the truth. You can't, and this is why people think politicians are slimy. And don't get me wrong, people do this from both parties, and this is why people just don't trust politicians. And people only have a limited amount of time, especially for new candidates when they're coming in. When a new candidate is coming into office, there's a very limited window of time to kind of vet them and find out who they are. And that's a problem here, and that's really a problem with the two candidate system, is that it's like people have Republicans or Democrats, and we have so many people that just kind of go down the line. How many people go down the line and they go to vote and they just vote Republican, 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 or they vote Democrat, 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 Democrat? They don't even know who the candidates are, and they just vote for who the person is. And really, we have so many kind of bad or unqualified candidates from either party, right? From either party that have problems like this. They lied, or they say that I'm for this, that, or the other thing because their party is for this, that, or the other thing, and they're like straight up lying about their history or something, like has shown that they're not like that at all. And this is why people like straight up don't like politicians. You guys can let me know your thoughts here on this, but something's got to change. Something's got to change, and we see this is why politicians get so rich over time, because who knows what they're doing in office. We need more clarity and more truth on this. Now, let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here on this. A lot of this stuff is just not, it doesn't make the mainstream. So I try to bring you guys the truth here on this. It doesn't matter for what side it is. We've seen this with Nancy Pelosi's stock trading, and we've seen this from both parties here. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments, and I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. So make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And I also did a really big update video on Social Security that you really need to know about. So click on this video here to watch that. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.